Hi, everyone. This is Bob Cohen. We'll get started in just a minute. I just want to give everybody an opportunity to join, and we'll get started right away. Thank you. All right, so I've got 7:02. I think we'll get started. Again, good evening, everyone. My name is Bob Cohen. I'm a SCORE mentor, and I want to welcome you to this marketing basics workshop that we're going to start tonight. And wanted to first maybe let you know that you will all get copies of the slides that we're going through and probably a recording of this presentation, as well as handouts that I'll go through during the course of tonight. You should have either access to them through links on the workshop slides, or we will send them to you separately. So also, I'll be trying to monitor the chat as we go along. I don't have any helpers tonight. It's just me. But again, I want to welcome you and thank you for joining us. And we'll get started. So first thing I'd like to do is kind of go through a little bit about SCORE so that many of you have already been on many of our workshops and webinars and maybe have sat through this. So I'll go through it pretty quickly. But SCORE is the largest volunteer network of small business mentors in the country. There's some 10 to 12,000 volunteers total in some 250 chapters throughout the country, just like the one in Cleveland. Here in Cleveland, we've got about 90 volunteers. Again, this is an all-volunteer operation, so anybody that is working with us in SCORE has volunteered their time freely, and so I appreciate that, and we are blessed to have that availability with people that we work with. So our mission is to foster vibrant small business communities through mentoring and education. So just like the workshop we're doing tonight, we do about 125 or so workshops per year on various subjects. You'll see as we go through some of what we've got coming up in the next couple of weeks. Small business drives our economy. It's really important to make sure that, we help businesses with business formation, job creation, wealth building, and, small businesses are just the most critical aspect of our economy right now. And it's one of the things that are hopefully keeping the economy afloat right now. So, it's something that we constantly strive to help and grow. Scores for everyone. We empower entrepreneurs to start and grow their businesses, and we've got something for everyone. Just so that you know that in 22, Cleveland was chapter of the year of all those 50 chapters. We're very blessed to have done that and proud of it. We started in 22 about 227 new businesses, creating jobs, as you can see, and we provide chapter services to the 7 counties that are listed below. So that's something that's critical to helping the small businesses that we work with. One of the things that we work with all of our mentors, we have a code of ethics, and that's a priority that we make sure that we sign off on every year. And we're not permitted to make money in any way from our clients. We are not allowed to use our clients or our member database for commercial purposes, and all of the information that we get through our clients with our one-on-one mentoring and any of the other information that we pick up is all confidential. So the one thing that I wanted to illustrate is the fact that all of the services that we have and are available through SCORE are absolutely free. We don't charge for anything we do. We don't charge for our workshops. We don't charge for any of our mentoring. And not only is it free, it's unlimited. So please take advantage. You'll see as we go through here, there are plenty of places in the marketing side of things where a mentor would be of very, very good help to you and your businesses. So the one thing I wanted to show you is the SCORE website. It's really very well done. I'm going live right now. So you can easily request a mentor just by going to score.org/Cleveland, and then you'll hit this page. This is the home page. And you can see we won the chapter of the year in 2022. Again, we're very proud of that, but requesting a local mentor is very easy. So basically, you'll hit that, you put your information in, and then down below, you can describe some of the issues that you're having with your business or the needs that you think you have. And the way this works is once you hit the send button, it'll go to our client intake coordinators. We have 4 of them. They will then assign it to a mentor that most closely matches what it is that you're looking for. And I mentioned earlier that we've got 10 to 12,000 volunteers throughout the country. We have the ability easily to find mentors in various specialty areas that we may not have here in Cleveland, even though, like I said, we've got about 90 volunteers, but occasionally there's something that a client needs that we just don't have, but we do have the ability to search it and find it across our customer relations management tool. So that's something that's available for you as well. Last thing I want to show you is, well, a couple more actually things that I'd like to show you is, you can easily go on and find more workshops. The way we're set up right now is that, you can plan and start your business, and there's a lot of information available for those possibilities. These are workshops, webinars. There are other information that's available. Again, everything on our website is also free. Great resource for you. Templates, startup templates, things like that. So you can see then manage and grow your business. That's an area that you might be able to work on if you've already started your business and you're ready to move on and grow it. So those are parts of the website that I think are quite nice to have available for you. And then I'm going to go back one more. Let me go here, go back and hit this one more time and just show you if you are interested in taking a workshop, just find the Take the Workshop tab, and that should then bring you the upcoming workshops. This is the one we're doing here tonight. This is coming right up. This is another one that's coming up. So you can see, so you can do this, you can look at it in a calendar view, or you can look at it in a view like this. All right, thanks. So I appreciate you bearing with me and allowing me the opportunity to give you a little bit of a commercial about SCORE. So the way this is set up, tonight we're going through marketing basics. This is actually, and if you've taken many of our workshops, you'll notice that on a month-to-month basis that we might have a title that runs through or a concept that runs through the entire month. And so we've got 5 marketing workshops that are coming up. One or the other are all related to each other. Tonight is going to be marketing basics. I'm going to show you an overview of marketing and some things that might help you pull your marketing plans together. And then the following weeks get into a little bit more granular, for instance, using videos on your website, which is a really important thing to do. And using videos in general is really good. Media success, social media success is the third one. And there's a lot that people need to learn about social media. You can't, every day you have an opportunity to learn something new. Everybody is probably involved in social media in one way or another, but that's really something that, if you join this particular workshop, you're going to learn a lot about it. And you'll also learn about um, um, Google Analytics and some of the things that go along with that. So marketing in the digital world, that's another marketing format that's going to be, and you can see the dates here, and then search engine optimization, which is something that's important to anybody that has any kind of a website that they've developed. So, positioning and getting that into the right place. So that's what's coming up. So let's talk a little bit about what marketing is. Okay, and this is very simple. I'm going to give you an overview. We'll start getting deeper and deeper. Think of this as a funnel, which we'll talk about in a minute. But at the very top of the funnel is going to be a lot of information. And as the workshop goes on and on, we'll get a little bit more detailed on some of the things that are important. The other thing is, feel free to put chat questions in or Q&A questions. I'll try to answer those. If not, as we go along, certainly by the end of the evening, I'll stop and we'll go through the questions that you might have. Okay, so marketing strategy is the comprehensive plan that's formulated particularly for achieving marketing objectives of your organization. It sounds like, marketing or business speak, but all in all, basically having a plan, having strategy and tactics in place to do your marketing. And you'll see those not only tonight, but as we go along. And I'm going to walk you through maybe how to put together a marketing plan. So if you're having difficulties hearing me, or if there are any difficulties coming up with the visuals, please let me know that as well. So I'm assuming right now everything is good. So why would you, in fact, have a marketing plan? And if you have some other ideas that are here, please put those in the chat. But understanding your customer is really very, very important. And putting together a marketing plan makes you think who your customer is, your target audience, what it is that you need to do to reach out to that customer, where they hang out, where they get their information. Understanding that customer is going to be very, very important. And we'll talk about that as we go along and talk a little bit about buyer personas, which is something that is a nice way to start thinking about who your clients are or who are your customers. Now, the one thing I want to let you know is that while this is an overview, this also applies to business companies, companies that are service oriented, companies that are working directly with consumers, companies that are doing manufacturing. There's nothing about this that is unique to any one of those. So, in general, your marketing strategy, no matter what side of the business tree you're on, these plans and the things that you'll put together and the concepts behind this are something that works with all of it. So developing financial goals, that's very important. So if you're putting together, let's say you're putting together a business plan, you're starting out in business, understanding what your goals are, not only through setting up your business and the things that you're doing and the costs that you have and your employees and all that, it's still just as important that you develop financial goals for your marketing. You need to understand how much money you are going to spend putting together your marketing plan, where you're going to spend your money, where are you going to get the biggest bang for the buck. And the other thing I always say is selling smart. Do not waste your time in areas that you are not seeing good return on your investment, both in time and in money. So developing financial goals is very important. There are ways to do that. I've got a financial template that I'll show you toward the end of this, and then you'll have availability for it. So an outline of your marketing activities is really important because you can throw a lot of spaghetti against the wall and if it doesn't stick, it's not working for you. So the idea then here is to start analyzing what is working, what isn't working, and stay with the things that do work. So if you've got an online shopping website, for instance, if you're taking a look at your analytics, which in the next couple of weeks will be delved in a lot more detail, you want to find out who's coming to your website, where they're coming from, how long they're staying, where they're clicking, what they're buying, whether or not they're buying and checking out or buying and then abandoning their carts. Those are all really important things. And your marketing activities are going to put you in the places that you need to be in order to do that and understand what is actually happening from that perspective. So we'll talk a little bit about setting measurable goals, and we'll talk a little bit about allocating sufficient resources. That kind of goes up to the financial goals we talked about a minute ago. And then developing a promotional strategy is really an important aspect of having a marketing plan. When you have a marketing plan, you're looking at ways to get into new markets, or growing the markets that you have, but also your marketing plan is going to help you defend against competitors. And we'll talk a lot about competitors as we go through. And there isn't much that we do in terms of our workshops where we are not looking at our competitors. So understanding your competitors and analyzing your competitors is going to help your own business. And then, of course, the last part of this, and we had 3 bullet points that talked about finance and cost, but budgeting your costs is really important. And that's a reason why you want to put together a plan in the first place. So let's talk about a marketing funnel. There are a lot of different types of funnels or sales funnels. This one, I happen to pick up because I thought it really works out well. If you take a look at the top of the funnel, that's where all of your activity goes. That's your marketing campaigns. It's your consumer research, it's events, it's advertising, it's trade shows, it's your blogs, it's your webinars, direct mail, it's campaigns that you put together, it's social media, it's all of the attention that you're trying to get at the very top of that funnel. That's your awareness. That's where your leads are generated if you look to the left. And then below that, it starts going down that funnel. And if you are doing your job right, people are beginning to get some interest based on those things that are at the very top of the funnel. So that begins getting some engagement. You're going to get some engagement, let's say, through your website, through your digital marketing that you do, through direct mail, both digital mail as well, emails that are targeted, content that you put together, newsletters, classes that you might hold. You might also, if you're starting, let's say, a beauty brand or something like that, or if you have a beauty brand, you might be looking at doing live markets. You might be looking at doing workshops and webinars for other kinds of businesses. But all those things are the things that help create the interest in what you're doing. And then as you move down that funnel, you are nurturing that lead. People are considering your offerings or your products or your services. And whether it's a consumer, whether it is a professional organization, whether you are also a for-profit or non-profit business, doesn't make much difference. The funnel doesn't look that much different. Yeah, you could customize it a little bit, but all in all, it stays the same. So things that people start looking at is product information, specials that you might run, sales. They may also look at some of the content you put together that are things that are relative to your customer. You may have some email campaigns that draw some attention, case studies, and things like that, free trials, white papers, discounts. Those are the things that get people to consider. And then you want to be able to get people having the intent to buy. And that's the sales side of it. That's when you begin to close that piece of business. Potentially product demos, that's in your shopping carts, sales ads to help nurture that stream, and then other kinds of marketing and sales to help prove that those products are the best. And we'll talk about that as we go along. Just having a value proposition that is different or better than your competitors. And we'll talk about that. So how do you develop a marketing plan? Basically, you come up with a strategy at the front end, you document it, and you implement it. That strategy is based on goals that you would set for yourself in terms of, in your planning or in your strategy. If you're putting together a business strategy, those goals are things like your sales content, the number of customers that you want, the dollar of value you want to develop in your company, things that you're looking ahead at for a particular year, acquiring customers, holding on to customers. Those are all strategies that you will be putting together. We'll talk a little bit about those. And then you want to document those. Yeah, you can have them, and most people do have them already in their heads, but if you put them down on paper and you start working through, and I'll show you what it looks like, then you've got something that you can actually put into an implementation plan. So you take your strategy, you document it, and then you implement it. And those strategies will break down in terms of tactics and goals and things like that. So let's move ahead. So let's talk a little bit about the marketing strategy itself. So, what you're looking at is what you're going to sell, where you're going to sell it. So, you're offering your value proposition. I just talked about that. Key benefits of your product or your service, features and differentiators of what you have to offer to the marketplace. Those are all parts of what it is you're going to sell. That all falls into your strategy. Where you're selling it, what is the market demand? What's the geographic boundaries? What specific niches do you fit into with the products that you have to offer? So even if it's a product that has been, seen and might be toward the upper end of its maturity, if you come out with something that makes that product different than what your competitors are putting out there, then you've got something that you're going to sell that is going to give you an upper hand on your competitors. So we'll talk a lot about who you're selling to. Who's your ideal target? How do you find that out? What are your potential customers in the segments that you are looking to work in? And how are you positioning and messaging what you're selling? Those are also very important aspects of putting together your marketing strategy. And I'll go into each one of those in a little bit more detail in a sec. So then how you're selling it, where you're distributing it, what are your pricing strategies? What kinds of promotions and are you doing, the promotional initiatives, and some of your tactics and the channels in which you are actually selling. And we'll go through some channels in a minute. And again, remember, this is an overview. We could easily take any one of these and put together workshops and webinars around all of them. So let's talk a little bit about what you're selling. And when you are putting together your plans, and maybe you already have your plans, maybe you're already in business, but you need to have a clear direction and definition of your offering or your service or your product. And that takes a lot of thought. It also takes a lot of talking with your customers and doing customer discovery to find out what it is they're looking for. And it also requires you to take good looks at your competitors. So if you are selling online, pull up other websites that are selling the same similar products. And a lot of people will tell me that they don't have competitors, and I would argue that yes, they do. If it's not specifically what you are currently doing, it is something that is relative in some way or another. If you're standing out in the marketplace, that's wonderful, but that's something that you need to understand. You've got competitors, and you want to take a look at that, and you want to have a clear direction with that product. And we'll talk a little bit about a SWOT analysis in a minute to understand what you and what your competitors are offering. And then the idea is that you need to be able to make a clear promise or a value that you're going to deliver to your customer, and that customer will experience. And that's something that you need to work through all of your messaging. If you're doing social media, if you're doing content marketing, any of those kinds of things, that message needs to carry all the way through. And when you start putting together your plans and your strategies, not so much for marketing, but in general for your business, the goals and strategies that you come up with will all operate around that value that you're delivering to your customer. And so that's really another area that you want to work on and think through very carefully. Now, are you able to communicate a unique set of features and benefits of your offerings, or aspects of the brand that sets it apart from competing products or service brands? So, when you think about benefits, that is the one thing that potentially will set you apart. A feature is certainly something like, if you're looking at a computer, 5 megs of RAM, it's the speed of the processor, those types of things. Those are features. But the benefits, which are the most important aspect of what you're trying to promise your customers through your brand, the benefits are, what do those things provide for me as a customer? What's in it for me? So the benefit for me of having speed in a computer is fairly obvious. It's being able to get through what you're doing quickly and so on. But you can come up with benefits for all of your services, all of your products that are really important to your clients. And understanding your clients and understanding what it is that they're looking for is going to help you figure out what those benefits are, or features in some cases. But I would maintain and argue that benefits are more important than features. Features back up the benefits that you are going to be talking about. So a good salesperson, good marketer, is always selling and marketing based on benefits and those things with value that your customer is looking for. Let's talk a little bit about where to sell. So placement is extremely important. That's why I put it here for 3 times. But is your offering best suited for local, regional, national, or international markets? I've got clients that are selling in neighborhoods, and that's good. And they are making decent money by doing it. I have other clients that are selling across the entire country, and 1 or 2 that are actually international. So you need to think that through and think about where you fit within those geographic boundaries. Are there other physical constraints to think about? So if you are selling to a consumer and you're in a brick and mortar a situation where you've got a store of some sort or another, or a marketing cart somewhere, you need to think about where those clients or those customers or those consumers are going to be located, and how you're going to get them to come to your location. So, and then things like, where will your products be available? Will they be available on the internet? Will they be available through services that you offer? Will they be available through a brick and mortar store? Those are all things that you need to consider. So let's move on and talk a little bit about who you're selling to. And to me, this is one of the most important aspects of being able to target. And the word target is really important. Ideally, you want to target potential customers, segments with your positioning and your message. So this is just the tip of the iceberg when you're thinking about demographics, okay? Certainly, we talked about geography. That's very important. But age, gender, income level, educational level, marital or family status, occupation, and ethnic background. Not everybody who is out there is going to buy your product or your service. So how do you find them? There's a lot of great research out there, not only through like census.gov, which is a wonderful resource to find out. You can look at this by county, you can look at it by neighborhood, you can look at it by city, you can look at it by state. There's so many ways in which you can slice and dice the census information that's out there that you can use to hone in on your target market. So that's a really good resource for you to think about as you start looking at your marketing strategy. Other things that you want to do, as you develop your decision about how and where you're marketing and who you're marketing to, are there enough people who fit my criteria? Look, you can have the best business in the world, but if there aren't enough people out there that are going to buy that product or that service or, something you're manufacturing, then you're absolutely wasting your time. And that's why I talk about selling smart, you know. So again, think about using current customers or potential customers and using discovery, going to them and asking them questions about those things that you want to understand about who they are and where they buy and will they buy your product. So will my target really benefit from my product or service? So that means that you need to spend some time thinking through your products and services, the value, the benefit, the value proposition that you're bringing, and how that relates to what your customers are selling. Do I understand what drives my target to make those decisions? So, that's one way that using good customer discovery would work out very, very well. You will understand what drives your clients. Okay. The other thing is that if you're on social media and things like that, and you're in the right groups that are of interest both to your product and to your value proposition, then you will also have an opportunity to communicate with them and communicate to them to figure out whether or not you are working with people in a target that is going to drive them to make decisions to buy your products or services. And can they afford it? So if you've got something that is extremely high end and you are selling to people that are, in the lower income levels, then you're in the wrong place. You are wasting your time. You're not. I like to fish, but you're not fishing where the fish are in those particular instances. So those are things you want to think about. And then, can you reach them with your message? Are they accessible? Okay. Again, understanding where they hang out, where they get their message. Now, we talk a lot about digital media. We talk a lot about social marketing, social media marketing, and channels like that. But what about customers that are not necessarily as technically sophisticated as some? So, as you go through figuring out your target and start looking at the demographics and buying habits and things like that, you will then begin to learn where those people hang out. You may find that social media and other kinds of digital marketing is not the way to go. Here at SCORE, we do a lot of digital marketing as well, but we also are doing some regular, what I'll call old school marketing, and it really isn't, where we're advertising in newspapers and we're advertising through other print outlets. So while, again, that may seem old school, that's where some of the people that we talk to get their information, and it works for us. All right, so how to sell? What's your distribution look like? What's your pricing strategy? Promotional initiatives? What kinds of tactics and channels will you be working in? So how does your product get to the customer? That's something that you need to understand. Again, that is, potentially several different ways. If you're manufacturing something, then you've got a distributor potentially in between you and the end consumer. You might also have a brick and mortar store between you and the end consumer. You might also have institutions between you and the end consumers. Those are things that you want to think about. If you are selling a service, let's say you're an architect and you're working with, let's say, you're working with a builder. Where are those builders? How do they get to you? How do you get your products out into their hands? That might be more of a business to business selling proposition as opposed to, just hanging out on social media. But in most cases, for most businesses, you will need a website. You will need to work with some social media, but you will also need to consider other types of marketing that go along with that. So again, knowing how you're going to get your products out to your customer or your services is going to be very important, because that will give you an opportunity to figure out how to reach those clients. And how, again, do you compare to your competitors? What is their distribution channels? How are they handling their promotions? What are they saying? What is their message? And when you talk about pricing, what is their pricing strategy? So you want to understand if they are the high price provider, are they in the middle of the pack? Are they a low price provider? If they are the low price provider, then what is it that is attracting customers to them? Is it price alone? Um, can you sell against them by using value as a sales tool? I would say that when you're in a situation where you are doing a pricing strategy, I would say that but certainly some of the low price providers do well, but they are compared to other low price providers, and that makes it very difficult to compete. If you are in the higher pricing side of the strategy, then you've got value that you can bring to the table that your customer will pay for. If you can show that and prove that, you're a step ahead. Your value proposition for what you're selling is ahead of what your competitors are, then you are not going to be competing on price alone. Certainly price is an issue, and those things that you want to consider are how do you get your pricing strategy set. But certainly look at what your competitors are doing. And then in your marketing strategy and how to sell is to let the market know. And again, we'll talk a little bit about the channels to do that. And then tell them about the features and benefits. I talked a little bit about features and benefits, but think through those features, the things that you have that are going to tell a customer, so what is in it for me? What marketing tactics and channels will you use? Again, we'll talk about that. And here are just a few. Incentives, traditional media, digital media, those are, think through the result of each one of those things for you. So I'm going to show you a quick marketing template, and this will be available if you click on this link, it'll take you to the SCORE website. And on that SCORE website, you can download this template. And it'll take you right to the spot where you can download the template. I'm going to blow it up so you can see it a little better. And I'm just going to run through it extremely quickly. So this basically is a guide to help you think through some of the things that I just talked about. Okay, so your marketing plan, this is just the beginning information, lean market summary, so you can see how that works in terms of what it is that you might want to do. It gives you some pretty nice instructions here, and it works through some marketing strategy. So each marketing strategy is going to be related to a particular goal. So, you want to reach a goal, you want to break it down, you want to talk about that's your strategy. Once you've got that goal in place, and I'll talk about that in a minute, your strategy is how to break it down in multiple steps. So if your goal is to reach 300,000 new customers in a specific period of time, how are you going to break that down and how are you going to get there? Your strategy is then going to talk about how you're going to market. Let's say it is through a website. Let's say it is through social media. You talk about those things and break it down, and then the actual tactics, the day-to-day business that you're going to do, those things that are going to bring those tactics out into pay off those strategies. So I would say that you want to put together, at least 4 or 5 goals. And what resources do you need? What are your pain points? What are your competitive strategies? What are your competitive pain points and things like this? And then and I'll talk about that going forward. So this is a nice little plan. It's not the end-all be-all plan, but it's a really nice overview of what you potentially can do. Now I'm going to go back to the actual presentation itself. So let's talk about documenting your plan. Okay, and we're going to start. so I talked about strategy. I talked about, where, how, and what you're going to sell. And now we're going to talk a little bit about setting some goals that you can do, that you can actually put together on that marketing plan itself, and potentially document that plan. Okay, so you want to articulate what you want to achieve, and how and when and how much of a commitment it's going to take in order to get that. And that's time and money and people. Okay, you want to know your audience, and I'm going to go through more of these as we go along. So this is higher level overview. Focus on what matters. Again, don't waste your time. Sell smart. Don't waste your time where you're not going to catch fish. Again, if you are a fisherman, fisherwoman, and you're out there and you're fishing, you don't want to fish where the fish are not. Focus on who matters, create a buyer persona. We'll talk about that in a minute. And then get knowledge of your customers and their needs, their problems, and their buying behavior. There's a lot of ways to do that. There's research through, I mentioned census.gov, but there are so many resources in the library to help you understand that. Good libraries that have good business sections can help you. You can actually talk to librarians directly in a good library. Downtown Cleveland Public Library is probably one of the best, if not in the state, in the city, but definitely in the city, if not best in the state, for information they have available. And certainly you want to go on to websites and check your competitors out. You want to use Google. There is so much information out there that you can understand. If you are on Facebook, or let's say Instagram, or anywhere where you can, LinkedIn is a really good one. Start joining groups and understand and target those customers and find out what their buying behavior are. Know your competition. Same kind of research out there for your competition. I can go on, Google right now and type in any type of business, and to look at who's already out there doing business in a situation that might be something similar to what I want, and take a look to see who's out there. And then tell your story. Take that value proposition and solidify it. We talk a lot about this, and this crosses over almost every single workshop that we do. Solidify your value proposition, put together that elevator pitch, which is that 10 to 6 second speech. I'm sorry, 6 to 10 second speech that really outlines who you are, what you do. That becomes part of your story, your vision, your mission. And if you need help developing vision and mission, just go out there and look up vision statement for X, Y, and Z, types of companies, and it's all out there. Anyway, so telling your story is really important. Knowing the channels, I'll get into that in a little bit. I'm not going to go through each and every channel. I'm doing more of the digital channels today than typically I might, but you'll learn more about those channels over the next 5 sessions, or next 4 sessions after this one. You'll learn those channels, and I would advise you, if you have the time, to tune into those. Discover and focus on the most effective ones. Again, what tactics are going to engage and educate your customer, and how might you also entertain and nurture prospective customers? So, if you've got a great website, you've got good content on that website, or you've got good content in newsletters that you send out electronically, people will take interest. You can drive customers from a newsletter, or from just a post, to your website, and entertain them. Your number one goal here is not necessarily to close a sale, but it is to get the interest that we showed in the funnel earlier. And then implement that plan. Once you've got that plan set down, think about the best ways that you can possibly implement that. Calendarize it. Look at ways that you're going to get through it, what tools you need, what processes, what best practices that you can look at to actually put that together. So the last part of this, and as important as any, tracking the outcomes of everything that you do is extremely important. So you'll learn about Google Analytics in the next couple of weeks. If you are already on a website that is e-commerce associated, there are probably great measurement tools that you can get to look at what's going on. But also you should be tracking it. If you are a brick and mortar store, you should be looking at your profit and loss statements. You should be looking at trends that are happening. You should be out there looking at what other companies, and in particular your competitors, are doing. So let's move on and let's talk a little bit about setting goals. Now, I'm not going to talk about any goals in particular, except this is the way in which you might want to, consider the goals that you want to set. And remember, in the business plan template I showed you, they had 4 goals outlined. These are the big things. These are the very big things that you want to accomplish. And then your tactics and strategies. Your strategies are how to take any one goal and make that work. So let's talk about a SMART goal, S-M-A-R-T. It's specific. It's very specific. It's very granular in terms of what you want to accomplish. I want to grow my business by X. I want to add X amount of new customers. I want to get satisfaction reports that look X. These are all things that are potentially of importance to growing your customer base, keeping customers. And I'll tell you right now that it's much easier and less costly to keep a customer you already have than to acquire new business. So those are very important things to think about. Surveys, measurement tools that look at customer satisfaction. So specific, those are those things. Measurable. So something that's measurable is, how much, what, those kinds of things. I want to grow my business by X. I want to take in X amount of new revenue in 2023, 24. Those are things, again, that you can always go back and look to see if you've accomplished those. But, if you do want to grow your customer base by X, again, the strategy is how you're going to get there. Is it attainable? Are you putting together things on paper that are beyond what is actually reachable? And so while it's always nice to be able to stretch a little bit to make those goals, if it's not attainable, it's not good for your business. You won't make it happen, and you will probably lose momentum and time by doing so. Is it relevant? Is it related to the things that you need to do in order to grow that business? And the relevancy of a goal is really very important. And is it time-based or time-bound? And I would say that you want to look at it in terms of, is it within a given time frame? Is it a month? Is it a year? Is it 5 years out? If you're looking at really long-term goals. And as you go through that, who's responsible for actually getting these things done? So there's a lot of information out there on setting SMART goals. And if you, again, put SMART goals into Google or SMART goals into the SCORE website, you'll find a lot of information on how to set them and set them properly. So one thing in terms of putting your marketing plan together, we talked about targets, and that target is your audience. You can have multiple people within your audience, or multiple demographics, or multiple buying habits within your in your customer base. You need to really focus on and get to know your customer, have a knowledge of them and their needs, their problems, and their buying behavior. So what I'm showing you here is a buyer persona that was put together for somebody that is potentially going to buy some software from a software developer, or maybe they're buying just IT services in general. So when you start thinking about it, and this is a fictitious character, but it's based on reality. So this is, I don't know if we have a name here or not. Let's call this person John. And let's say that his background, he's a system administrator. So if you are, he works in a large hospital. If you are, you may have dozens of other customers, and you may have already targeted systems administrators within the medical field. That's just, this is going to help you to narrow it down. His demographics, again, this is fictitious, and there might be 10 different buyer personas or 3 different buyer personas that fit what you do. But I would consider each one of them. I'll give you another example. I worked with a young man that had a business selling what he called dark arts. These were artists' posters that were kind of macabre and things like that. When we start putting together a buyer persona for that person's website, we found that many of his buyers were people that had seen his products in tattoo parlors where you've got artists that are working on designs that are similar to that, but people that were actually the customers of those tattoo parlors were very interested in the work that he was selling. So it's easy to come up with a persona based on the people that potentially might be getting tattoos. So those are all things to consider, and so buying habits, demographics, psychographics. What are the thought processes on this? So in this particular case, this particular person does skew male. Okay, doesn't mean that there aren't women in this business, but potentially there are more men than women. So that's something to think about. This person potentially is married with women. I'm sorry, married with children, and might be living in a suburban area. Chances are, we don't talk about his education here, but maybe he's got a master's in business. Maybe he's got a financial background or an IT background. Those are all things that you want to consider as you begin thinking through who your buyer personas are. Anyway, the challenges are as good as anything, because if you've got a good product with good value, then you are actually answering potential pain points that your customers or clients have. So in a service business particularly, that's something to consider and look for. If you find somebody that's got pain points, then you can be a hero. How we can help: provide large team to support the rollout of an initiative. So there's several ways in which that can be done. And here are some common objections that that person might have. And when you're working with somebody, an objection, whether you're selling a product, whether you're selling to a consumer, whether you're selling to business, or you're selling almost in any situation, there are going to be objections that need to be overcome. Now, in some cases, they're overcome by the way your website works. Other cases, it is face-to-face. So, a typical objection in a lot of places might be price, okay? This particular person is worried that the end users won't be able to use the new software. How would you overcome that objection? And how you overcome that objection is going to help you close that piece of business. Nervous about deploying and implementing new software. How do you make that person feel good about that? So, not only in a face-to-face situation, but in a situation where you are working with your own website, or you developed a newsletter that goes out, and your buyer personas, you can then actually use them to work through the messages that go out there on social media, as well as almost any other strategic marketing tool you might have. So that's why that's important. Let's talk a little bit about competitors. And what I always ask people to do when we sit down on a one-on-one situation is to complete a situational analysis and assess who your competitors are and how you measure up against them. So a SWOT analysis means SWOT, strengths, weakness, opportunities, and threats. So understanding your competition very, very well will help you to be able to determine that. If you're in a brick and mortar, who else in either the neighborhood, the city, the state wherever it is you're going, sells that product or those products, or is set up the same way you are. And go in and start, actually walk in. There's no reason why you can't walk into a brick and mortar store and check it out. There's no reason why you couldn't call another architect and check it out. There's no reason why you couldn't ask somebody to bid on something that you need to figure out how you're going to price and check it out. And then there are a lot of ways to look at the things on the left side. This is just a few. There are 50, 60 possibilities that you could put here. What are their products and services? What are yours? What are their brand marketing? How are they staffing? What kind of finance do they have? What kind of operations are they doing? What kind of market are they catering to? There's many, many things, but you want to do this and develop it so that it fits your particular product, service, and so on, and your markets. And then, look at, and you can rate these in a lot of different ways. You could rate it on an A, B, or C basis. You can rate it on a 1, 2, or 3 basis. You can actually, write in more information that will give you some ideas of what your competitors are doing, but do the same for yourself. The strengths are something you want to look at. Threats potentially are things that could happen in pricing. Nobody ever thought that a pandemic would have threatened their business. And that's just something that, I would say 85, 90% of businesses out there just never thought about. Other threats are potentially, government interference, rules and regulations, threats that are through your competitor, are new products that they're introducing that you don't have on hand. Something very important for you to think through as you begin thinking through your SWOT analysis. And this is important for your marketing plan. So I would say do this, and if you work with a SCORE mentor, we can help you on this. Do any of your strengths help improving your weaknesses? Or can you learn from your customers, or I'm sorry, your competitors' strengths, how to shore up your own weaknesses? Are their weaknesses opportunities for you? Are there opportunities potentially things that you can take advantage of? So let's move on and let's talk a little bit about your marketing plan, your channels, and the tactics that I talked about a few minutes ago. So what you want to do is discover and focus on the most effective channels. Again, don't waste your time where you're not able to make money. And the tactics that are going to engage, educate, and entertain or nurture a prospective client. Okay, so there are 4 areas, there are probably more than this, that we're going to talk about tonight, but that's something you pay for, something you own, something that you can share, and something that you earn. Let's talk about this. This is going to be things that you're paying for. So you will, in some cases, pay for digital ads. You will also pay for print ads. If you're doing direct mail and not digital mail, but direct mail, that's something you would pay for. And if you're working with broadcast media, if you're doing trade shows, and trade shows are really good areas that you might want to consider, particularly if you are introducing a new product. And the smaller side of a trade show might actually be a farmer's market. I see a lot of new products being introduced there. That might be part of your marketing plan. If you have a new product that you want to market, take it out, let people try it out, let them test it out, see what they think about it. Get some recognition, get them to your website because of that recognition, get them to your social media because of that recognition, get to a point where you've got a base and a following. And then let's say you do have a product, and I talked about like a beauty product, makeup, creams and lotions and things like that. Let's assume that that was a success at several farmers markets throughout, a county or an area. Why not then take the customers that you've got there and start marketing to them because they've come to your website? Why not take the base of the customer group that you have and go to a store or a retail outlet and sell your product to them because you've already got the support going into this? It's just a nice strategy in ways that you can market yourself. So trade shows at the higher end are areas where you can take your product and service to, mostly trade associations that put those on. And if you if you get into a trade show that is the right area for you for the product or the service that you're offering, then by all means it's good. SCORE does that a lot. We go to events and trade shows, most of which we try not to pay for because we're a nonprofit, but that's where we find that's what fills the top of our pipeline. And those would fill the top of your pipeline as well. So when you think of that funnel, the top of that funnel is, one way to start to fill that is through these paid advertisements and so on. So let's talk a little bit about own. And that is content. That's your website. That's your email marketing strategy. Those are webinars you might put on. Those are workshops that you might put on. Those are podcasts and videos that you do. And if you take a look at the second session a week from tonight, you will see that we're going to talk a lot about videos and how video marketing on your website really works. I don't know if you've ever heard a webinar presented by Lindsay Sims, but she is by far one of the best presenters we use. So I would recommend it. And she's Google certified, so she's very very helpful. So those are things that you own. You're not necessarily paying for those. You might be paying for them in some small way or another. Getting your website together. You might have somebody on the outside that does your marketing for you, or you might have a marketing app that you use that you've paid for. Yeah, but you still own the products that come out of those, and you're not actually paying to utilize those. And then so social media is the other one. We'll talk about it, and I only have a few of them down here, but it's a good channel: Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube, Instagram. And again, each one of those has areas in which they specialize and areas in which you need to ferret out what works best for the products or services that you're marketing. And then let's also talk about some partnerships that you can work where you're kind of sharing that, charity tie-ins, sponsorships, co-branding. You might actually do some advertising where you're working with a shoe company, but you have a product that's totally different, but the same market is looking at both products. How can you potentially partner with somebody else in another area that might have some synergy with what you're putting together? So those are things to think about as you put together your plan. We'll talk about influencers a little bit later as well, but loyal customers are your influencers. That's your word of mouth. Getting reviews, doing the outreach, marketing, business in general is a lot of work. Marketing is a lot of work, and it's a lot of thought, and you just don't go out and start throwing together social media posts and expect that somebody is going to be buying from you. That's not the way it works. You've got to do it in a way that makes sense. So outreach to those people that potentially could influence buying behavior to your target customer. Now, sometimes it's costly, sometimes it's not. Word of mouth is always great. That is, why you want to build loyal customers. Again, acquiring customers is more expensive than keeping a customer. And let's talk now about some of the digital marketing channels that are out there. So those are channels that enable you to connect and engage with your audience efficiently and effectively. And again, when I talk about effective, you want to do your due diligence and don't waste your time on those channels that don't get to the customer that you want to reach. That's going to be the one thing that you want to look at, and you want to make sure that you vet each one of the websites or each one of the apps that are out there that you might potentially work with, and then look at how you're going to work with them. And ultimately, you'll want to put together a calendar to get there. So look at the major benefits of digital. It's trackable. It's not so trackable when you're putting together an ad in the newspaper or an ad on the radio. You might see an uptick in a spike in business, but it's not trackable down to the person that's actually bought from you. So that's one of the advantages of doing digital marketing. You can see how your traffic is being driven, how deep the engagement is with your customer, and you can generate leads, sales, and potentially improve your return on investment, ROI, for your marketing. So, the other thing is that, this empowers your brands to engage with your audience, being in the right channel and having the right audience and getting them then to engage with your website, your social posts, if you're doing something in the way of digital email marketing, getting them to click on links. We haven't really talked much on getting people to call to action, but you want to be able to put calls to action in most of everything that you put together. And it may not be a call to action to buy something, but it might be a call to action to get more information. It might be a call to action to read a blog. It might be a call to action to get your customer to engage with with you in general, and the top of that sales funnel. So you can see approximately 87% of all consumers now are buying their stuff online, or at least starting a buying journey online. So let's talk a little bit about I've got 12 channels, and I actually pulled this from an article I thought was pretty excellent. I left the link in here. I'm going to go to that really quickly and then come right back. The 12 key digital marketing channels and how to use them. This is really nicely done. I just took a high level view of it and I put that together. So that is in the slides that you'll get. You can just click on that link and you'll find it. Content marketing, strategic planning, creation of publication, that's and the distribution of valuable content to your target audience. And if you're working with an audience, no matter what channel you're in, you do want to do some content marketing. You either want to come up with your own content, you want to remarket somebody else's content, you want to make sure, obviously, that anything you do is legal via copyright law, but you want your customer to engage in content marketing. Search engine optimization, we don't talk about that much in the next week or two, but I think toward the end we might. You want to make sure that everything that you do in the way of organic searches, that is people that are just searching for very specific items, but not necessarily specific businesses, you're building your rankings on the search engine optimization by building awareness through content marketing and some of the other things that we're about to go through. And there are bots out there on Google that look at the amount of marketing or actually requests to find products that you've got there, to look at keywords and things like that. And the keywords are really important to help drive that SEO, search engine optimization, which positions you on a page in a Google search. So there's two types of searches. One is the organic search, and the other is a direct search, where you're actually somebody's looking for your website. That's a direct search. So email marketing, we talked a little bit about that, but it's a great way to reach your audience. When you think about it, it's got a huge ROI. For every dollar spent, it's about $36 in return. Now, you got to take that with a grain of salt. Every industry is different, but this is kind of in general. Social media marketing, you already know about that, but it's a great way to build brand awareness. You get involved with groups that have like interests or sell like products. It's just a way of improving your branding, to boost engagement and to nurture relationships. And again, all of those things mixed together, and with calls to action, with ways to get them to go a little bit further in where you are, and get them into your website and get them onto your newsletters and things like that. That's going to help your SEO. Video marketing, you already know how important that is. Pay-per-click, that's something where you might be actually advertising. Pay-per-click is a process of buying visibility on a search engine. So search engine result pages, which are called SERPs, and you can do that with pay-per-clicks. You can also advertise straight out in Google or other areas where it actually will, if you're paying for an ad, you can get position that way. So paid ads are when you use, are useful when you need to see immediate results. So, you know, if you're looking for that, then by all means, paid ads work. Content marketing and SEO might take a little bit more time, but pay-per-click and SEO marketing that you do strategically can help get your customers' attention. So we're almost through with these. I think I got 12. Affiliate marketing was what I had mentioned before, was actually partnering with other possibilities with, you know, bloggers and publishers and influencers, and getting them to cross promote. Influencer marketing is, you know, when you actually want to build a brand, there's a great quick way to get out there. You want somebody that's got fans, you know, or a lot of followers that can actually get the word out for you. Another way of doing that is just good word of mouth that you've built through your own operations. And then partner marketing, I mentioned. Referral marketing, again, is, you know, several ways to do that. The vast majority consumers, say 93% of them, say that they read reviews online and that impacts their buying decision. Mobile marketing, mobile devices, there's, you know, 58% of the consumer device market. It's got a huge share of market. So that's another way to market. And these 3 websites are ways that you can get that marketing out there. There are dozens more. These came up through ones that I've looked at as well. So, you know, there's a lot of mobile internet users out there, so they spend a lot of time looking at stuff. And so, you know, display advertising, it's an incredibly popular way to build it. It's going to cost you in order to do that, but it puts you at the top of the, you know, it fills the top of that funnel that I showed you. All right. So I talked about a marketing budget before. You can click here and get a copy of that. Let me blow that up just briefly. Um, very, very briefly. So down the left-hand side of this is all of the things that you might consider working on. You might not work on all of them, but there are many of them, most of them are here. So sales support, which is different than you know, marketing, events, travel, websites, public relations, all the way through you know, all of your the ways of working it. And so then you can just start looking at getting costs. You put numbers in here, and this will actually carry those numbers, you know, through and total them on a quarterly basis. So January, February, and March is the first quarter. You can put some dollar amounts in there and it'll start pulling it together. So it's a nice little template just to keep track of your spending and to make you think through your spending before you actually spend it to see if you've got that money to spend. And some suggested things that you might want to take a look at. Start your goal planning. This is will get you to a printable goal template that you can use. You can start working on a SWOT analysis. You can work on your business plan. You can look at that budget template I gave you, and by all means, request a mentor from SCORE. Somebody asked, where can I find that budget template? I think if you actually click on this, it's a live link. I'm not sure if it goes to my, I think this goes to my Google Drive. But I also think, let me go back to this. And let me go to the next slide. I didn't mean to do that. Let me, bear with me one sec. Goal planning. So this is a printable template. The SWOT analysis, I believe, is also printable. This will take you to a page in the SCORE website, but down below there is a link to download this template. Read through the website part of it too, because it's pretty interesting. Same thing with the marketing plan template is in there. And then the budget plan is, I'll make sure that that goes out with the slides and the recording of this. So, come work with us. We're happy to work with you. We've got some really good marketing expertise in our chapter. Come next week on the 9th. Each one of these is on Tuesday, 7 days apart, so as you can see. So this is next Tuesday, using video on your website. This is Lindsay Sims. She is a fabulous presenter. I mentioned that before. Social media, how to be successful with it. Marketing in a digital world, and that has a lot of things on Google Analytics. And here we are on search engine optimization. Those are all things that we talked about tonight. This will get a lot more granular, in fact, than where I was tonight. So let's see, I think I have one. I'm going to actually stop sharing. And right now, it looks like I have one question. Just lost it. Oh, here it is. Are any marketing strategies for home-based gift basket businesses? I would say almost everything and anything I talk to in one way or another would have some bearing on how you might manage that business. So when you start thinking about the top of that funnel, how do you fill that sales funnel or that marketing funnel at the top? And, most of the ideas that are here in one way or another could apply to what it is that you're trying to get to. So for instance, I talked a little bit about, I mentioned, markets, farm markets and things like that. Why not have samples available out there for people to look at, buy, sample, whatever you think about, and then have a way for them to get a hold of you? Why not put together a direct email, put together an email marketing campaign based on email addresses that you've collected by seeing people in person, getting out to areas where people potentially could visit you and take a look at your products and your services. Happy to help you on that if you've got some need that you want SCORE to help you with. What if you have no budget, or for no money for a budget? Should one do everything listed anyway? Well, certainly a lot of what I talked about does have some cost associated with it. And a lot of people are starting their businesses and they are bootstrapping those. So there are a lot of marketing tools that you can use to bootstrap your business. Certainly most of what happens on most social media is free. Again, I don't know what your business is, but if it is where you're trying to get out in front of public, there are a lot of ways to do that. I mentioned one is some of the farm markets over the course of the summer, they're inexpensive. $35, $40 will buy you a table. Now, again, I don't know if your business is relative to that, but that's a possibility. Any other questions out there? So far, I think I've answered everything. There may be something new in the chat. Yeah, I'm more like strapping than bootstrapping. Yes. Listen, we have a lot of clients that, are doing that. If you've got a strong idea and you've got a good strategy as to how you're going to reach the market with it, the possibilities exist. If you have a side hustle that is you're working with while you're being supported by a full-time job or part-time jobs, it's another way to take a look at it. I have one client who is an installer of of a product for a home. I don't want to give too much detail on it. And it's a product that everybody uses. He's got a full-time job doing this. So he is actually starting, by getting collateral materials, his brochures, his cards out to the immediate area in which he lives and out to the markets in which he wants to target. And he'll start picking up some calls and small jobs. He then can take the money that he gets from those calls on the small jobs that he does and start moving them into his marketing plan. So there are ways to do that. And again, we can help you with that as well. Any other questions out there? I think we've covered them all. So I would say, again, find a good mentor to work with in SCORE. We'll get back to you if you hit the search for a mentor button. You can also look at profiles of the mentors online. And I look forward to working with you further. And go ahead and try and attend these other workshops that we're doing. They will help your marketing efforts, whether you have the money to spend or you don't. But I appreciate you all joining us tonight. I think I have one last chat. Jay, thank you. So Jay took my class last week. We're doing 5 simple steps for starting a business. So if you're in the process of starting your business, please join us. We're doing this one in person at Talent Launch. Just go on the website. It is this Thursday, 7 o'clock at Talent Launch, 6161 Oak Tree Boulevard in Independence. And we're doing that live. And we're actually working with people on starting their businesses and working in business plans. Anyway, I'm going to let everybody go. Appreciate it again for you having joined us tonight. And I look